Hey guys, Dave from Nerdarchy, 4 Nerds by Nerds, hanging out with.
Nerdarchy Ted.
Time to flip the script. Now you're the monster running a reverse dungeon in your D&D game.
Jump down the description below where you can sign up for Nerdarchy the newsletter, get weekly gaming tips, as well as learn how to game with us.
All right, so someone had sent us in a question about building a reverse dungeon, or almost like a reverse campaign. So in this case, instead of being the players and not even being an evil party per se, but you are the monsters that keep a dungeon. You're in charge of a dungeon.
All right, now this is not a unique concept. There is a game that has, got multiple iterations called Dungeon Keeper, and that's what you do. You build your dungeon, you lay out the traps, and you get things to lure in adventurers. There's an app game that I played, and I can't think of the name off the top of my head, but my son and I both have played it. And the idea is you are a Dark Lord, you have kidnapped the princess, and the adventurers are going to come in to try and rescue the princess. Can you lay out enough traps to thwart their attempt? Pretty fun, pretty ridiculous, and it's it is what it is.
So I have a couple ideas with this, and how you would run this campaign. First, you the DM lays out the premise, gets the players on board, and they make their kobolds, goblins, hobgoblins, bugbear characters, whatever. And I would have like a quest giver, right? Like a Dark Lord, like you said, and they're charged with. Now they're charged with like keeping a dungeon, but they don't have the dungeon, so they have to go out and survey several dungeons and figure out which is the best dungeon. Like this would be like the early adventures is just finding different dungeons. And then they would have to either tame or clear out an existing dungeon in order to take it over for said purposes. And maybe like the Dark Lord has certain requirements that they can only figure out by actually going into the dungeons. So essentially, they have to infiltrate dungeons and be dungeon delvers themselves in order to find the perfect dungeon.
Now, this is the kind of thing that I would, to get more in line with, Dungeon Keeper or, some of these more ridiculous concepts, I would totally use a character tree. I would use, you've got to be, a monstrous humanoid. And it's going to be more about the overall story than character development. And there's times where crazy things are going to happen and people and characters just get squished.
I would play it a little bit silly, a little bit like Kobolds Ate My Baby kind of feel to it. And and once they find like the perfect dungeon, they get it set up, they get it cleared, then I'd be like, all right, well, you know what? The Dark Lord needs you to capture a prince or princess, and you're gonna have to hold them in the dungeon. Like, so that would be the next step would be like planning the heist
Okay.
in order to go get said person, keep them there, and then once they accomplish that, like then the next thing would be they have to prepare the dungeon. So like that could be an adventure in itself, whether they need to get stuff, set traps, do things. Maybe part of it is like bad things happen as the kobold's setting up the traps, and he can accidentally set them off, and you might need a new character. But by the time it's all said and done.
Well, beyond setting traps, I mean, you could also go out and negotiate with monsters, with other things that might be attracted to treasure, might be attracted to to enjoy the killing, shall we say? And oh well, we're going to get this prince or princess, and that means adventurers are going to come and try and rescue it, and the adventures will come to you when you get to kill them or eat them or whatever is going to appease. So you get to have the role playing through these conversations. You get to have the combat through rescuing, or not rescuing, but kidnapping stuff or stealing stuff. Because you're going to need the supplies for your traps. You just don't have them. So like you're going to get all the typical aspects, and then once you've got that set up, I wouldn't even do like the adventures running through the combat. I wouldn't touch. I wouldn't have the players be touching dice at all. I would totally narrate that based off of how their checks and things went, and you get to just, okay, well, let me figure out this based on that. And sometimes the adventurers might win, and you guys are chased out of the dungeon, upsetting the Dark Lord, and he might kill you or just yell at you, depending upon your success or failure. I think with that tongue-in-cheek style.
I like your idea, but I wouldn't call it narrating. I would make them skill challenges
Okay.
that you then narrate what happens based off the skills that the players used.
Okay.
And that could be, and that narration directly involves the heroes
Okay.
that are coming into the dungeon.
Mm-hmm.
So it's the same as you said, and it's kind of like just combining the idea of prepping the dungeon
Right.
with the idea that no, it's actually all one big skill challenge, and the results are how far along
All right. So
the adventurers get.
so as opposed to, okay, well, oh, I'm going to put this trap here. All right. Well, we don't make the rolls for that until the players encounter it. So then you use that skill challenge of, okay, well, I'm doing this. Okay, how's it go? If the characters wind up, failing the skill challenge, well, then the adventurers have managed to break through that, and you make these things hard so that the adventurers manage to progress further in before they're all depleted. But I would totally have them be, we're the heroic types, we don't give up, So as the adventuring party gets depleted, it gets easier for you as the player character to defeat the remaining thing.
Yeah, you definitely totally do that. I love the idea of part of the adventures would be going out and recruiting other monsters to live in your dungeon. We even did a video about capturing a gelatinous cube that would totally work for this as well, because monsters leave a lot of trash and we need to clean this up somehow. If we can get a pet gelatinous cube named Fluffy to just go through here and clean everything, that would be fantastic.
It's a shame I wore my gelatinous cube t-shirt yesterday.
Darn it. Yeah, so that whole scenario that we put together, you could kind of repurpose that, and instead of moving the gelatinous cube to a town or a city like we did before, you're just moving it to another dungeon. You're relocating it and trying to convince it to come clean here.
It just needs organic material to consume. Like, there's not really a conversation. If you've got a smart enough minion, it's like, okay, well, it's there. Let me put out a globule of food. And it moves towards it. Okay, you put out another one. Can you lure it back that way, slowly but surely,
10 feet at a time,
across the miles of terrain? Do I have enough food?
Oh man, I see the bugbear's just gonna hang himself from the monotony. He's like, I can't take this anymore. I definitely wouldn't run this as a long campaign. This would be like a short, like 3 to 6 sessions, maybe. You kind of do it. Maybe you just need a change of pace. You need to break up what you're normally doing, and you want to run something a little sillier.
You could take this as like one iteration, one dungeon crawl, and the finale is, okay, the dungeon is completely set up. The princess has been kidnapped. I've attracted all the monsters that I'm going to get. Maybe you as the DM, pre-game it by, okay, well, here are the possible options of creatures to get into the dungeon, and each one of those things winds up being a skill challenge of bribery, persuasion, what have you. And if you fail to attract that thing, okay, well, you failed. That's no longer an option. You move on to all the things. And then the culmination of the game is the adventurers come in. Are they successful or not? Either way, the campaign's over. You succeed by, having all the adventurers die, or you fail by the adventurers leaving with the princess.
You could also let the players play the monsters, and the DM plays the adventuring party as they're going through. Like the players are making the rolls for the monsters, and and with the knowledge too that they're probably going to lose a lot of the times, and the GM is running the adventuring party, and they're just trying to deplete the resources. And it could also become a game like that where the players are like, oh, we don't actually have to win this fight. We just have to make them use enough of their stuff to make the next fight tougher.
Right. That's an interesting concept. I don't know how I feel about going to that level, but it's not my game. It's whoever's game wants to.
That's true. To do this. Another thought is like certain rooms, maybe they're set up like gauntlets, and maybe the players are like hidden. The monsters are hidden in the walls, and they're using the traps almost manually, and you can have them make the rolls. Well, I want there to be interesting things for the players to do, and not for them to sit there at the table while the DM tells them a story.
That's true.
So they have to have ways to interact.
Right. Yeah. So if you have each thing be a mixture of combat and or skill challenges, yeah, that could totally work.
But anyway, that's how we would go about doing the reverse dungeon. The question is, though, have you done something like this? Would you do something like this? There's a place where we can discuss it. That's down in the comments below. While you're down there, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe.
You can check us out over on Facebook.
So until next time,
Stay nerdy.